Number three, to prohibit halal and allow haram is similar to committing shirk. And that's why it is so important that we be very careful how we use these terminology. Because if we say something is halal and it's not, it could be similar to committing shirk, because we're taking upon ourselves the authority to be able to say this is halal and this is haram when it may not be so. And so it is really important that we be very careful when it comes to this issue. Some of the mistakes we make is that, especially when it comes to culture, because a lot of us, we live our Islam through cultural context. We have our culture, whether it's Guyanese culture, Pakistani culture, Arab culture. We grow up within our culture, and sometimes our culture may ask us to do some things which is not halal at all, which is actually haram. But we've grown up with these customs and habits. And so we may find ourselves practicing them when they are really not haram. We may find ourselves saying, oh, it's okay. We begin to allow haram and prohibit halal. It's okay to do it. For example, there's some cultures in which when the cousins meet, they have cousins sitting by themselves together. We can marry our cousin. They're not supposed to be alone by themselves, but the cultural norm of that group is, hey, family, and it leads to opening doors which we don't want. So a lot of time our culture, we have wedding cultures that, is very strange and very difficult sometimes to absorb. So one of the ways in which we'll end up allowing haram and prohibiting halal is if we are not careful about our cultural norms. And so it's also when you decide like you want to stop somebody from doing something that is halal, and our governments do it a lot. For example, they said, hey, we're going to curb freedom of speech. Allah has made freedom of speech halal. And then the government comes and said, nobody, we are going to muzzle your freedom. So they are prohibiting a halal. This is similar to committing shirk. And so you're not allowed to do that. If Allah has allowed the people certain privileges and it's halal, then you don't arrogate yourself. And usually people who want to dictate and dominate, they tend to want to stop the people from doing what is halal, because the halal keeps people balanced and on track. And so they would sometimes do that. The other opposite part of that is that there are some of us who, for some strange reason, deprive ourselves from doing things which is halal. We ourselves stop ourselves from doing things which is halal. So we may say, I know that Allah allows this, but I am going to not do it myself. I'm going to deprive myself of that. When you do that, you deprive yourself of opportunities for joy and happiness, because in the halal, you get a lot of joy and happiness. And so it's important that, for example, I like to sing, for example, you may say, you like to sing. Singing is okay. But then you say, no, what? Nah, I'm going to deprive myself of that. So when you make something that is halal haram for yourself, then that also becomes a real problem. And so we don't want to do that. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to have like lots of practices like this. They had a practice called Bahira, in which if a camel has a split ear, that was born with a split ear, they would say, oh, we cannot eat that camel. We cannot slaughter this camel. And they would make up rules like this. Because this camel have this split ear, that means this camel is special and something different about it. And so we must not do that. And then we have to make sure that we understand that haram and halal is from the wisdom of Allah. You see, when you tweak them or you try to change them or you try to prohibit them or allow the wrong, then you will be messing with something which Allah knows what He's doing. Sometimes the haram looks very, very harsh to us. And sometimes the halal looks too liberal, depending upon our point of view. And so we end up erring when we begin to mess with that and try to stop others from doing it. The Prophet said the extremists will perish. 3 times he repeated it. He said, I've been sent with what is straight and easy. Okay, so we have to have the balance. And so whatever Allah has allowed to be halal, don't deprive yourself. But whatever He has allowed to be haram. Keep away from it. And do not impose haram on people, and don't deprive them of what is halal for them.